Thank you so much for joining us as we're talking about the tropics and the latest information coming on in from the National Hurricane Center, where we've had a numerous amount of updates coming through over the past several hours. A lot of things have changed out there across the Atlantic Basin. We'll get to those details in just a moment. First things first, what's outside our own backyard, so to speak, in the Gulf of Mexico is Tropical Depression 22. The latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center came in just a few minutes ago at 1 o'clock. It has that system roughly 255 miles southeast of the mouth of the Rio Grande River, so right off the southern tip right there. And it has winds sustained of 35 miles per hour, wind gusts are around 45 miles per hour, and is generally making its way to the northeast at roughly about 7 miles per hour or so, where it's going to be likely strengthening little by little, where it's expected to become a tropical storm before the day is done. The latest details on 22 is going to have it likely become a tropical storm beta later today, and you're probably wondering, wait, what happened to Wilfred? What happened to Alpha? I'll get to those details in just a moment. Like I said, a lot of things have changed over the past several hours. The local impact, though, would be rough surf as we push through Sunday and in through the early portion of the work week with breezy winds and heavy rain. And you could see maybe perhaps several days of heavy rain at the coast, depending upon where the track of the system goes eventually once it starts to make its way a little bit further northward, closer to home. So there is TD22 right there sitting in the western portions of the Gulf. There is the very impressive Major Hurricane Teddy right there, but it is just raging all by itself out in the open waters of the central Atlantic. This, what was Paulette, has gone post-tropical, and we do have that remnant circulation having a small chance of maybe re-strengthening back into a tropical depression or storm, roughly about 30% chance. There's Wilfred. That formed about several hours ago off an open wave over the open Atlantic, and it has strengthened just to around the tropical storm status of 39 miles per hour and higher, making it Wilfred right there. It's likely to go just about that direction over the next several days. And also we have Alpha right here. It's actually subtropical storm Alpha because it has the characteristics of both a tropical cyclone as well as an extratropical system, meaning a system that forms out of the tropics. And as it does make its way a little bit to the north and east, it's lashing portions of Portugal and over towards Spain right there, the entire Iberian Peninsula, potentially dealing with a lot of rough surf, heavy rain, and gusty winds. And it's situated right about there, and it's going to be making its way this way into the open waters over that vicinity. So not a threat to us here by any means necessary at all as we go throughout the next several days. But we've already exhausted the entire Atlantic list for the year 2020. We've crossed off every name on the list right there of Wilfred forming. So now we have moved on into the Greek alphabet, which has only happened once before in recorded history. That was back in 2005, where that season pretty much rewrote the books on how tropical systems form and how we track them, because we blew through that list and made our way into the Greek alphabet, going all the way down into Zeta right there. Right now, we only have Alpha being crossed off, but the system outside in the Gulf could become Beta before the day is done, and then we can definitely see perhaps more names being checked off, hopefully not too many, as we go through the next several weeks. But we are only in the heart of the season, so it's definitely possible that we could see maybe us go way into that Greek alphabet list right there, as we still have many more weeks to come through as we go through October, where there is a secondary peak of activity. That's a little closer to home in the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico as opposed to the open waters of the Atlantic. And then things start to really get quieter once we make our way into November's time frame. But Tropical Depression 22, like I said, winds of 35 miles per hour moving to the north-northeast at 7. Here's the official forecast coming from the National Hurricane Center. There's a lot of wobbling all over the place. There's several factors at play in terms of how this path is going to be coming into the fruition perhaps, but we can see that system as it makes its way close to the coastal areas, strengthening potentially into a Category 1 hurricane with minimum winds of 75 miles per hour before it starts to get a little bit more interaction with the adjacent land masses of the coastal areas of Texas. That would help to weaken it back down to a tropical system, although still a very strong tropical system with winds of 70 miles per hour and then eventually 65 miles per hour by Wednesday morning. But look where it is, sitting not too far away from the Houston metro area. In fact, we'd be on the dirty side of the storm, so to speak, with us getting the lashing wind and rain coming on shore. So Tuesday into Wednesday could be a little dicey out and about across the Houston metro area. But of course, we'll keep you up to date with more forecast updates as time goes on. The spaghetti plots, the various computer models right there, well, they definitely do say a lot of things, but a lot of them are saying that we are going to be making our eventual jog to the northwesterly direction as we go through the next several days, and then where it starts to make its interaction with land, not necessarily landfall, just adjacent to the land, to the coastal areas, That has still yet to be determined, as we're going to be having more model data come on in as time goes on. So as we track what is TD22 right here in the open waters of the Western Gulf, we can see that it is going to be maybe getting a little bit stronger as we go throughout the afternoon to evening hours, and we're going to be watching it interact with a cold front that's going to be pushing on down from a northwesterly direction. It's going to be a wonderful just breath of fresh air for us here in Houston, because our humidity will start to go down later on today into tonight, making for a beautiful Saturday, but also keeping that system offshore, allowing it to stay in the open waters of the Gulf. But as that cold front eventually loses the battle and fades away, will allow that tropical system to start to make its way a little bit further to the north and west. Now it's starting to interact with the coastal areas of Texas right there, and we can see it bringing that wind, that rain on shore, and it has a lot of moisture to work with. You can see all that moisture being tapped on in from across the central Gulf and across the eastern Gulf, even going down towards the southern Gulf of Mexico. As we head on out and throughout Monday morning, potentially it could be just offshore, just north of the Brownsville area, giving Houston a good chance of rain and wind throughout much of the day. And then as we head on out through Tuesday into Wednesday, we're going to be watching the upper level winds starting to now pick it up and bring it to a east-northeasterly direction right there. So starting to push the bulk of that moisture away from the general area of circulation, allowing Houston to perhaps get a chance to dry out going through Wednesday night into Thursday, but we'll still have those breezy winds coming on in around in a counterclockwise fashion until the system is completely kicked out of here going past Thursday's time frame. Tropical Storm Wilfred, not too much of a concern right here for us here at all. In fact, unless you're going out in the open waters of the Atlantic, you have really no concerns at all. It has winds of 40 miles per hour, gusts of 50, traveling to the west-northwest at a quick pace, 17 miles per hour, and it is 630 miles off the Cabo Verde Islands, right there, just off the western portions of the African continent. As we go forward in time, we can see that this system is going to continue to make its way up across the open waters of the Atlantic, and going to be heading on out to pretty much not really bother anybody as time goes on. There's that latest forecast cone and the spaghetti plots, I should say, coming on in first across from the National Hurricane Center. You can see the various computer models have it going to a west-northwest direction. There's always going to be one outliner that wants to go way out into the northern portions of the Gulf, or maybe go due west towards the Caribbean islands right there. But for the most part, out to sea, following pretty much a similar path that Teddy is taking right now, in which case it's going to be heading further north and west away from the central portions of the Atlantic. But you can see that system going to become a tropical storm and stay a tropical storm throughout the day today, eventually weakening down to a depression and then a remnant low. Outside in the Gulf of Mexico, we can certainly see a good amount of cloud cover in the distance. Look at the rough waves starting to come on in. Definitely a good amount of wave activity, different periods right there of those waves coming ashore. Maybe have a little bit of some rough surf activity. It's quite possible, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have any advisories being issued along the Gulf for perhaps the chance that TD22 gets a chance for strengthening a little bit sooner ahead of schedule and starts to impact our coastal communities before the weekend officially kicks off. But the view outside does show we have scattered clouds out there coming on in batches every now and then. So it's a mix of sun and clouds for your Friday with a nice northerly breeze coming on in. You can partially thank TD22 for that, as it's drawing in that air from the north. So we get a nice dry flow coming on down across the area and get a break from the deep humidity that we've been dealing with for the past several weeks. Feels like forever across here in H-Town. So your forecast high today is 90 degrees, partly cloudy. Then for tomorrow, it's a gem of a day, sunny, high of 88, low humidity with that northeasterly breeze really coming in across our area. Then all eyes are on the Gulf Sunday and the next several days to determine where we do see TD22 eventually make its landfall. If it does, if it strengthens the tropical storm beta, a lot of things that we need to keep you updated as time goes on will come our way as we make our way through the official start of fall that comes on in on Tuesday with the fall equinox. So I'll be coming back to you guys on Channel 11 with the 411 with the latest information from the National Hurricane Center. In fact, the 4 o'clock update has the full track and stats coming on in about TD22. So make sure you do tune into that for the latest intel. See you guys.